All right, let's bring in Caitlin Huey-Burns for more analysis of last night's speech. So, Caitlin, let's talk about how the audience received the speech. We have new CBS News polling. It showed that most speech watchers felt optimistic and proud following the speech. Could this speech be a jumping-off point for Biden's second year in office?
Well, we should note that most speech watchers, most of them were Democrats. So, looking at the partisan breakdown of those responses, among those who watched the speech, felt optimistic, and many of those were Democrats who were tuning in. But that's important for the president because he was trying to kind of establish something of a reset when it comes to Democrats because they're in a midterm election year. They are facing all sorts of headwinds. You kind of mentioned some of it, but obviously the president's low approval rating figures to weigh down candidates in some of these key races. Inflation at a 40-year high. The economy that's not working necessarily for everybody. And then, of course, anxiety around the globe about Ukraine. The president was very much trying to give something to look forward to. And, talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill over the past few weeks, they were looking for little nuggets here in this speech to be able to kind of pinpoint and say, look, this is what we are doing. Democrats have been kind of griping about how a lot of the agenda has been mired in partisan and intra-party fights. And so the narrative has really been about what they haven't been able to do. And Democrats have told me that they want to shift that narrative to what they have done and what they want to do. So looking at it in that context, that could be something of a reset for the president when it comes to his own party. But as you know, Anne-Marie, bipartisanship on Capitol Hill is very hard to find. Even with a speech like that, it very much does not last. Republicans were already ready to criticize many parts of the speech.
Yeah, we will get into that, but I want to ask you about the president's characterization of how the country is tackling the pandemic. I think that, sometimes when viewers listen to what politicians say and it doesn't jive with what they're seeing in their real life, it sort of breeds resentment, right? They get upset. The economy, I think, is a good example because, politicians can say the economy is doing great, but if you can't afford to fill up your gas tank, there's an issue. But I think maybe with this pandemic, it might be a little different because restrictions are being lifted all across the country. The president was very optimistic when it came to his outlook on the pandemic, saying that the country is moving forward safely. Do you think that connected with Americans?
Well, that's a really good point, Anne-Marie, because they're connected, right? A lot of what we are seeing with troubles in the economy and people's own personal economies are related to the pandemic. Of course, issues with the supply chain, issues related to inflation, a lot of that is tied into kind of the global consequences of the pandemic. But, you do have a lot of folks around the country who have been wanting their lawmakers and their local governments to ease some restrictions as those case numbers are coming down. And we know this is likely to continue to be an issue heading into the midterms. The president very much was wanting to kind of project optimism about the pandemic and kind of moving on from it. You do have this issue, though, of lots of parents around the country who are very upset about how their local school districts have handled the pandemic, especially when it comes to masking. That is something that we know, according to the Republican response to the address last night, is something that we're going to be continuing to hear a lot from Republicans, even as we move out of the high case numbers of the pandemic. That is something that could last. But this was an attempt to kind of speak directly to Americans about how they're feeling in terms of their own personal economies, but also this kind of, COVID fatigue. A lot of Democratic lawmakers I talked to over the past couple of weeks said that they know their constituents are feeling that COVID fatigue. So they were also looking for ways that the president could symbolize some kind of turning point. And we know, of course, Democratic governors have moved much quicker than the president to remove mask mandates in their states and remove mask mandates in schools.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you so much.